Welcome back, and Juan Castillo will start us off this block. Juan?
Yes, Congresswoman Hayes, this question is for you. Obviously, the socioeconomic issues that have plagued the African American community has really put us in a situation where, of course, coronavirus, we getting hit the hardest because of the healthcare disparities and so forth and so on. But also, it has brought up a new conversation about the fact that reparations, right? And you know, my question to you is this: like, is there anything that the Congress or the Congressional Black Caucus is doing in regard to, number one, making sure that, and I just want to say it because I know this is something that people don't want to hear, even though I grew up with it, and I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today if it wasn't for this. And I'm talking about affirmative action programs. The chief talked about, and also the governor talked about bringing in more African Americans into the police department. I'm all good for that, right? However, the bottom line is that we're not looking for a hand out. We're looking for a hand up, right? And affirmative action programs need to be brought back. Is there anything that Congress is looking at as it relates to African Americans in particular? We've heard the stories about, well, this is for everybody, right? Well, we've been hearing that for a long time. And now we're in a position right now, obviously, because everybody's talking about us, right? What are you going to do for African Americans as in regard to jobs and just doing education for that matter? Yes.
Well, that was a pretty loaded question, but there is legislation that I am an original co-sponsor. It's HR 40, a commission to study reparations, which really will look at systemic inequalities in different structures, because I think we have to first acknowledge and see where those things are. On my committee on education and labor, we've had several hearings, equity and inclusion in education, which would provide grant funding for schools to voluntarily desegregate, because our schools are more segregated now than ever. Healthcare disparities. We really have to get to a place where people have access to healthcare. So many people who identify as African Americans live with chronic health conditions. Our criminal justice system here in Connecticut, we have the 6th worst racial disparity in the country when we look at the number of people incarcerated. Our school to prison pipeline, 1 in 3 African American students is arrested in school. So all of those are things that I have been, even before this time, looking, and this is what I keep reminding people. This is not just about police misconduct. These are underlying issues that really plague the African American community. And I think, to the governor's point, we need to build those relationships between police and members of the community. My husband is rounding out 25 years as a Waterbury police officer, and I know this community is better having had him on the force. But people are not going to voluntarily engage if there's not that level of trust. So we have to start earlier. We have to catch our young people earlier, give them the opportunities. And as far as I know, affirmative action has not been removed.
Hayes, we thank you
measures that and opportunities for African Americans to go to school.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining us tonight. I know you have an engagement coming up, but then back to Face the State. And Ndidi Moses is joining us now. She's an attorney and president of the Connecticut Bar Association. Welcome, Attorney Moses. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to talk about one of our newest initiatives at the Connecticut Bar Association. The Connecticut Bar Association is the largest professional organization for attorneys in Connecticut. We have over 9,000 members and over 70 sections and committees putting together extremely important programs year-round to ensure we protect the rule of law. Our most recent initiative in the wake of the death of George Floyd was convening a police task force to start a candid conversation with law enforcement and the community regarding how we can better ensure that the police system is fair, transparent, and accountable to ensure that our rule of law is protected. The task force is chaired by Deidre Daly, a former U.S. attorney, and Alexis Smith from the New Haven Legal Aid. The task force is in its early stages, and we are still pulling together a full list of members, but we have a diverse array of people from across Connecticut in the community and law enforcement community to ensure that we hear everyone's voice. But we know that there's more to this story than just policing. For years, the Connecticut Bar has recognized that these are systemic issues that cross all sectors of society, and we have worked hard over the years to ensure that all of our programming are addressing the larger issues. Yearly, we hold a law camp and civics education programs with the community, with the schools and inner city students to ensure that they understand their rights, understand what justice should look like, and make sure that they are brought in and introduced to a legal system that is welcoming and will help them. We also spend quite some time developing our pro bono efforts to ensure the justice gap is closed and that every single person in our society has access to a legal system.
Attorney Moses, I want to bring in Juan Castillo because he has a question for you. Juan?
Sure.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, what is your organization? What is your stance on bail in Connecticut? Much less in the country, but in Connecticut specific, because that's been a big question that, of course, many of us have been asking and dealing with, because most people, most minorities cannot afford bail, and they end up in jail, coming to court, wearing those greens or the reds, and it's not good. It's not good for them. It's not good how they look to potential jurors and so forth and so on. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the Connecticut Bar Association, obviously, one of our major concerns is ensuring that everyone has equal access to the justice system, is able to attain the correct resources and assistance that they can. So the bail issue is definitely something that we can definitely talk about internally in the bar and see if there's something that we can do to address those issues.